Hey everyone, Knowledge here with Reach Your Summit. In this video, I'm going to share with all of you a couple more setups that I like to use at camp when I'm out on the trail and I'm using an ultralight flat tarp. All right, thank you so much for joining me. If you've been following this channel for a while or have seen some of my videos or have crossed paths with me out on the trail, you're most likely aware that I am a big fan of ultralight flat tarps. It is my preferred go-to shelter choice when I'm out backpacking, though I do still use a traditional fully enclosed tent on occasion, or I might use a floorless tent like my Metaphysics abode. Each shelter is going to have its benefits and its drawbacks, and sometimes the tarp just might not be suitable for a specific trail or location or with certain conditions. And one other thing that might influence whether or not I go with a tarp is what my specific goals or objectives will be when I'm out on that trail. Now, I've had a lot of great feedback from other tarp videos that I put together, and I've been getting a lot of requests lately asking if I could share a couple more setups. So I thought I would do that here. Now, if you're interested in seeing those other tarp setup videos, or you'd like to see how I address and deal with bugs, and also some tips that I like to use when I'm out using a tarp, I'll leave links for those videos in the video description below, so you can check those out whenever you'd like. But in this video, I'm just going to share with you a couple of other setups that I like to use. I don't want to get too deep into using tarps, since I've already discussed it a little bit in some other videos. And again, some of the main reasons that I really love using a tarp is the simplicity overall, but also the versatility that a tarp provides. The lightweight is nice, and also how compact I can make it and fit inside of my pack. Well, let's get into it. Here are 3 additional setups that I like to use when I'm using an ultralight tarp. The tarp that I'm using in this video for these setups is made out of Ultra TNT. This used to be a 9-foot by 9-foot square tarp, which I also have a video of on this channel. I found that the size was a little bit too much for what I like to use, so I did trim it down and modify it a bit and sewed it up. So the dimensions of this are more of a 6-foot by 9-foot tarp. I just enjoy using rectangular tarps a little bit more. Those square tarps can provide a bit of an easier visual with setups. I find I can still get by plenty with using a rectangular tarp. So for this video, I have my Ultra TNT tarp, some ultralight titanium shepherd hook stakes, 6 total, and I normally only hike with 1 trekking pole. So if I need an additional support structure, I might use a tree or I might use a stick that I find on the ground. But for a demonstration for all of you in this video, I do have 2 trekking poles here. And these are older Black Diamond carbon Z poles. So I have 2 here, and they are 120 centimeters in total length. Now, this first pitch I'm going to share with all of you is kind of influenced in a way by the great Glenn Van Pesky. He is somebody who has definitely had a big impact on the ultralight backpacking community over the years, and also on myself. And so I definitely emulate some of his hiking style with my own, just because it aligns with the type of hiker that I am. So this pitch that we're going to go over is what I like to refer to as the wedge. So to start out, I'll start by staking out the 2 back corners, and I'll stake those corners out directly to the ground without any additional length from guy line. And I'll make it pretty tight, but then I'll kind of come back in just a hair, maybe an inch or 2, just so I have a little bit of slack in the length of the tarp. And then on the front end, or the entrance end, I'm going to use my 2 trekking poles or my 2 sticks, and I'm going to use a clove hitch to secure the guy line to each stick or each trekking pole. And I'm going to do that not at the corner on the opposite end, but the next tie out in. So my clove hitch there. Just gonna feed that through. And then I'll stake this out into the ground. And I'm just using another hitch right now just to hold it in place, but you can also use a figure 8 at the very end of your guy line. I'll use additional hitches to use adjustment, or I'll use a bowline for adjustment. I don't have any tensioners or line locks on the tie outs. This is just straight line tied to the tarp just to make it a little simpler. And then I'll do the same with the other end. So again, not the very end in the corner, but the next tie out in. And then I will take the corner now and I'll stake that out. I'll do the same with the other side. Then I'll make my final adjustments. I can stake this out too if I'd like, but for that I'm just going to use this stick. So this is the wedge, or a modified version of the wedge. What's great about this specific setup is it gives me 3 walls of great wind protection. I can lower this a bit more in storm mode if I was worried about some heavy winds and heavy rain. I can also lower either wall on either side, or I can lower both of them if desired. I can also raise this up a bit, which I'll show you in just a second. But I get a good amount of protection in here. I also have plenty of room behind me for my gear. And this is just a great simple setup. You can do this with any length tarp that you want. The important thing is with this setup is that you have some additional tie outs in between the corners and the center of the tarp. It's just nice and quick and gives you a decent amount of protection. You can also still have a great view outside around me at camp while staying relatively dry and protected from the wind. And in this video, I'm also using just a piece of polycrow that I use as a ground sheet when I'm using a tarp, or I can also use this as a ground cloth when I'm using a tent. So if I'd like to raise this up, I just need to adjust the 2 corners and adjust these 2 connected to the sticks or the trekking poles. I'll bring this in just a little bit. All right, there you go. So I just raised the line a little bit on my stick or my trekking pole, brought it a little bit closer to the tie outs, made some quick adjustments with the staking and a little bit with the back. And I have a lot more room inside of here. That modified wedge could also be referred to as a modified lean-to setup width-wise. And now I'm going to show you a lean-to setup lengthwise, and I'm going to set it up sideways just so you get a better visual of it. So to set up this one, I want to make sure I have guy line on each corner on one end lengthwise. Make sure your guy line is at least about 8 feet long. So I'll have the 2 corners here, and then I'll go back to the next tie out. And again, I'll make sure I have about 6 to 8 feet of guy line on that tie out and also this tie out. So 4 guy lines total on the end that you want to prop up with your stick or trekking poles. And with tying these, I'm just going to tie a bowline. That way I can have a simple adjustment here for the guy line if I need it. So it's setting this one up, lay my tarp out lengthwise. Gonna stake out the corners where my feet will be. And I could stake that out directly to the loops. And then I'll go to the other corner and then go in one. And with this line, I'll do the clove hitch again. Stake that out. Same with the other side. And I'll take my last two stakes and I'll stake out these corners. And I could stake them out like that. I can stake them out further if I'd like. And just fine-tune everything as much as I would like. So I'll give you a visual of that. So I have some great rain protection if it's just a rain that's steady and coming down. But I can also get a really nice view while I'm sitting under the tarp and it's raining out. If it's really windy, I'll want this side facing the wind. And let me show you inside. So again, if I needed to, I can pull this awning out a lot more and have a little bit more protection. I can use my surroundings to tie off on that as well. Overall, I have a good amount of protection and I get to get a really nice view from all three sides. This is a pitch that I'll use more in mild conditions. Like I said, if there's a light drizzle or a light rain that's coming through and it's steady and down and the wind isn't influencing it at all, or if I want to have increased airflow, if it's very humid out, this would be a great pitch. If it's very windy and I have good natural surroundings, I can utilize those and have this for my main wind protection. So these are two more setups that I really like to use when I'm out on the trail, depending on what the conditions are when I get to camp. I have had a few of you ask if I can show how I would set up a half pyramid in storm pitch mode. So that's the other setup that I'm going to show you now. And for that pitch, I'm going to utilize this center tie out here. So I want to make sure that my line is longer than this. This is about 5 feet long. I want to have at least 8 feet. So I'll remove this. I'll put this in its place. This tie out is good. I'll put another tie out at that corner, and then I can just stake out the two back corners directly into the loop. So starting out, I'm going to stake out these two back corners. I want to add a little bit of length to the back of it. And I'll do a clove hitch. And the key here is tying out the center here a lot lower. And what's nice about this pole is I can slide this up and down to where I want it. So maybe we'll set it right there. And stake this out. Then I'll stake out this corner. Stake out this corner. And for good measure, I'll stake out the back too. So this is storm mode with a half pyramid. With a tarp this small, this is not something that I want to be hanging out in for long durations or for multiple days on end, but it does help get you by if you find yourself in a really bad position. For storm pitch, I might also make sure I'm setting up in front of a boulder or some type of vegetation just to give me a little extra protection. But overall, it works pretty well. And I will let you take a look at how low this really is. And one rule of thumb that I always like to follow when I'm using a tarp is that good campsites are found, they're not made. So I always follow good leave no trace principles and do my best to minimize any impact. So there you have it. Those are a couple of additional pitches that I like to use when I'm using a flat tarp, whether it's something this small or something a bit larger. You could do a lot of these pitches I've shown in my videos with a square tarp. It doesn't just have to be a rectangular tarp. And again, if you're interested in this material that I'm using for this tarp, check out my other Ultra TNT tarp video. I go over the material a little bit more in detail, what the benefits and drawbacks are to it. This is also not dimensions that a lot of backpackers are going to want to use. I feel personally that a 7-foot by 9-foot is the best dimensions for a lot of hikers, including myself, but I do like using things a little bit smaller here and there. One of my go-to tarps over the years has been my 7-foot by 9-foot Z-Pax tarp made out of Dyneema composite fabric. So I like to use that one a lot when I'm not using this one here. Using a tarp like that will provide a bit more wiggle room, and it's a little bit more forgiving for a solo backpacker or solo long distance hiker. I hope you all found this video helpful, and if you have any questions about the setups I went over in this video, this material, anything else in my other videos or my other tarp setup videos, please feel free to leave them in a comment below, or you can contact me at any time at reachyoursummit.net. Are any of you avid tarp users? What are some of your favorite setups? I'd love to hear what you're using and what setups work best for you. Leave those in a comment below. It's always great to get someone else's perspective on things. If you like this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I'm always adding new content to it. I have a lot of great content coming up on this channel. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the tarping, enjoy the backpacking and hiking, enjoy the trails. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until the next one, I'll see you out there.